And welcome to the Class Breakfast News. The news is live on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, Ho FM 92.5 in the Bulletin region, Dagbon FM 102.5 in Tamale, Radio 192.1 in the Upper West region, Radio Power 96 in Spain. Around the world, join us on classfmonline.com. Coming up in the next 15 minutes, fire service response to multiple emergencies following heavy downpour in Accra.
See the call that there is a fire here. So quickly, a team from the Makola station got here. When they got here, they realized that the fire was, as we would say it, well alight. And so they called for extra reinforcement.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Meteorological Agency warns of scattered rains and thunderstorms across the country. The Chief Executive Officer for the Kofanoti Teaching Hospital to appear before the Health Minister to answer questions on why the facility Accident and Emergency Center was temporarily suspended. Meanwhile, Head of Public Relations for the Kofanoti Teaching Hospital has clarified why management took that decision.
One small correction. We did not suspend emergency services. It shows that in the emergency center, that temporary release closed its doors for new admissions. The actual emergency service will be provided.
These plus many other stories coming your way shortly.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
I am Elizabeth Aidoo and welcome to Class 91.3 FM. Let's settle for the details. The several fire outbreaks and search and rescue operations were recorded across parts of Accra during and after Wednesday night heavy downpour, keeping personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service on high alert. One of the major incidents occurred at a Denta news site where a one-story residential building near the Yeswasi supermarket collapsed, trapping occupants beneath the rubble. The firefighters, with support from residents and other emergency agencies, mounted a rescue operation that saw 4 injured victims pulled from the debris and transported to the 37 military hospital for treatment. The fire service said community members rescued 2 of the victims before emergency responders arrived, while firefighters later rescued 2 additional occupants. A dog trapped in the collapsed structure was also rescued. Rescue effort continued throughout the night as emergency personnel searched the rebels for any other remaining occupant. The Ghana National Fire Service also commended residents and partner agencies for their swift response and collaboration, while urging the public to remain cautious during period of heavy rainfalls and promptly to report emergencies. The member of the public relations team of the Ghana National Fire Service, Alex Kenate, also spoke during another fire outbreak at a police barracks in Accra Central.
The call that there is a fire here. So quickly, a team from the Makola station got here. When they got here, they realized that the fire was, as we would say it, well alight. And so they called for extra reinforcement from other fire stations. So as we speak right now, our team from Parliament, our team from ministries and other stations are here, all working hard to make sure that the fire is put under control. As it stands now, our priority, even though you see a lot of flames here, our priority is to make sure that we contain the fire from further spread.
GMET is urging public to remain vigilant, particularly during the morning and evening periods when localized weather disturbances are more likely. The forecast comes after Wednesday's heavy rainfall, triggering several emergency incidents, including the collapse of the building. We'll also be engaging them subsequently and right here on Class 91.3 FM. Let's move away from that. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Kofanoti Teaching Hospital, Dr. Elizabeth Aidoo, is expected to appear before Health Minister Kobnamita Kando today to explain the temporary suspension of the new admission at the hospital's Accident and Emergency Center. The move follows reports that the facility had stopped accepting new emergency cases after the center became overwhelmed with patients and exceeded its intended capacity. The Ministry of Health says the development appears to contradict President Mohammed's directive that no emergency patient should be turned away. However, the hospital's public relations officer, Kwame Frimpong, told Class News that emergency services had not been suspended entirely. He explained that the only new admission at the Accident and Emergency Center were temporarily halted due to severe overcrowding, while other services continue to operate.
Small correction. We did not suspend emergency services. It's true that in an emergency center that temporarily closed its doors for new admissions. The actual emergency service will be provided or separate the kind of support that we need to resolve this challenge. This recurrent challenge is far beyond that, and it will need a certain intervention at the national level, create the necessary space for us in the region in order to reduce this pressure. If you have a single hospital, being the sole tertiary hospital in a region which is one of the most populous, in fact, this size, in terms of procedure size, is just a little larger than that of Ashanti region. Virtually the same population sizes. But look at the number of health facilities, special healthcare facilities you have in Accra, and then when it comes to Ashanti region, you have only one. And even that one is not the largest hospital in the country.
That's the Public Relations Officer for the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, Kwame Frimpong. Economist and research fellow at the University of Ghana, Dr. George Domfe, has cautioned that the Bank of Ghana's aggressive measure to control inflation may be slowing activities in the real economy, with farmers, traders, and producers feeling the impact of the weakening demand. His comment comes as inflation recorded a marginal increase to 3.7% in May 2026, up from 3.4% in April. Speaking of 505 yesterday with my colleague Kwame Ochi Jr., Dr. Donfe said, while inflation control is important for maintaining microeconomic stability, the current approach could be placing unintended pressure on productive sectors of the economy.
Bank of Ghana doing
Class 91.3 FM.
And they spent 15.7 billion. You know, they lost 15.7 billion. That became interest to the commercial bank. So it meant that they took so much money from the system. And as far as I'm concerned, as soon as inflation dropped to 6, they should have pulled the brake. Because they did not do that, and they pursued aggressive open market operations to take so much money from the system. The end result is that today inflation has gone down, but farmers are crying. The rice farmers of this recently came out complaining that nobody is buying from them. Maize farmers are crying, rice farmers are crying. Anywhere you go, rubber farm, cashew. We recently did a study. All the farmers are crying, young farmers are crying. I think nobody is buying from them because we don't have enough money in the system. If you go to Makola, you go to Abotoka, they are all crying. They go to see their shop. Nobody is buying from them because the government has aggressively taken so much money out of the system. When you do that, on paper, it will appear very good. And that's why we have to the lowest of about 40 years. That is good on paper, but it doesn't encourage productivity.
Dr. Donfe also called for greater investment in local production and a reduction in import dependence, urging that the excessive imports continue to increase demand for foreign exchange and puts pressure on the city.
Why don't we set up more factories to produce what otherwise would have used the dollar to import? Once you get to do that, aggregate demand for foreign currencies falls because you are now producing more of what otherwise would have imported. And that is how you can keep the strength of the city naturally for so many years and on sustainable, terms. But what we are doing is not sustainable. As long as Bank of Ghana has dollar, city is going to remain stronger. If anything happens that affects the intervention, city is going to suffer. And so the way to fight this for the strength of the city is not this. The way to fight for it is to help the private sector, push the private sector to produce more of things that we are currently importing. And if you do that, you are creating jobs for your people, and at the same time, you are increasing production. At the same time, you are also reducing demand for foreign currency, so city will become naturally stronger.
Thus, economist and research fellow at the University of Ghana, Dr. George Donfe, speaking in an interview with my colleague Kwame Ochi Jr. yesterday on 505. Moving away from that, Chief of Staff Julius Zebra has called on African countries to strengthen their economies as a key step forward safeguarding sovereignty and preserving cultural conference and sovereignty and values. beyond political independence and depends on ability to fund its development, ensure food security, and develop and deliver quality education. He urged African governments to prioritize local manufacturing, support indigenous businesses, and deepen intra-African trade as part of efforts to achieve sustainable growth and protect the continent's long-term interests.
Today, a sense breaks brings us together. We meet at a consequential moment for our continent. Across Africa, conversations about sovereignty, identity, governance, and development are taking on renewed urgency. At the center of many of these conversations lies a simple but profound question. How do we preserve what is uniquely African while building the prosperous future our people deserve? That is why this gathering matters. The future of Africa will not be shaped only by our economy, our infrastructure, or our technologies. It will also be shaped by the values we choose to uphold, the institutions we strengthen, and the confidence with which we define our own path going forward. And that could hardly be a more fitting, and there could hardly be a more fitting place for this conversation than Ghana.
That's the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah. Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Sumana Kingsford Bragwin has cautioned foreign development partners against attaching conditions to aid that seek to influence domestic laws and policy in recipient countries. Also speaking at the 4th Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values, he urged that such conditionalities undermine national sovereignty and go against the principles of the United Nations Charter. He stressed that every sovereign state has the right to determine its own laws, cultural values, and governance system without internal and external pressure, adding that development cooperation should be based on mutual respect, partnership, and non-interference in internal affairs.
I want to emphasize this matter. People trying to make so many things contingent upon the adoption of legal and cultural paradigms in our social and cultural fabric. On the alteration of domestic laws to the disadvantage of beneficial countries violates the principle of sovereignty in the Nations Charter. In turn, they say let us reject the four premises that modernization requires the erasure of our cultural identity.
That's the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bragwin. To some African news, a court in Nigeria has sentenced 4 men to death for attacking a church in the southwestern states of the nation. When they opened fire at the St. Francis Catholic Church in the town of the country during a Pentecost service. The court in the capital Abuja also sentenced the men to 20 years in prison for belonging to terrorist groups. The presidential assent is required before any death sentence is carried out in Nigeria. We'll bring you more details on that and subsequent ones right here on Class 91.3 FM. Now this ends the Class Breakfast News with me, Elizabeth Aidoo. For more news and updates, do log on to classfmonline.com. The morning show continues with Kwame Jumo Ajiman and the team. Do stay and enjoy the rest of our program. Sports is up next. Good morning.
This is the Class Breakfast News.